Welcome everybody to the first Sephardic World Meeting of 2024. We hope everyone had a great new year. Today, Ton will be speaking about rewriting a family history, the De Sola family. Before he starts, I think Ton personally needs no introduction to this group beyond saying that he is the acknowledged expert on everything Western Sephardic. The Jewish Genealogical Society of Great Britain had to move their library following the closure of the Jewish Museum, and they decided to get rid of non-essential files. And these included a large part of the research by Julian Kemper on the De Sola family. And they asked if we wanted it, and I said yes. And I went up and sort of came home like a beast of burden with all these files. And Ton, when he was visiting, went through and has took some files home for analysis, and is now offering us a new, or at least an updated view on the Sola family, one of the more famous families in the Western Sephardim. So, Ton, you have the floor.
Hi everyone. Uh, Today I will talk about the genealogy of the Sola family, but also about the history of writing about the genealogy. Um, Writing and thinking and researching the Sola family already happened over 1.5 centuries ago. And the results of that have been publicly available uh, since over 100 years. I will not talk today about the Mendes de Sola family because there's no known connection yet to the Sola family. And also Florbela Weigerfrada, a friend of ours, already gave a talk about that family 2 years ago. It's still viewable on our YouTube site. There's also, apart from the Mendes and Sola family, the Sola Mendes family, but that one is from the 19th century. I will be focusing on the 17th and 18th century. I will talk mainly about the one line, the ancestors of David de Sola, Kazan in London, in the first half of the 19th century. For two reasons. One, the family is relatively complicated. The genealogies that have been made are in themselves complicated. And the second reason is that it's the main line, and it illustrates the problem of writing about the Sola family in a condensed form, and it is also the most important part of the genealogy with the most problems. So let's start with this David de Sola, who was a Chazan of Bevis Marks. He was born in Amsterdam, educated there, studied at Chaim. In 1818, he went to London. He married the daughter of the local rabbi, Raphael Meldola. She was Rebecca Meldola, and they had 6 sons and 9 daughters. And they spread across the world, and they also spread the word about David de Sola and his importance to history. David de Sola, in his own time, was well known. but he was modest. So in his own time, maybe he wasn't regarded as much as he is today, but people appreciated him as a hazan in London. He had a large literary production, and some of that is still in use or being used regularly for consultancy. Next, we have his son, Abraham de Sola. He was a rabbi in Canada, and he was famous in his own right. He was also a professor at McGill University in Hebrew and religion, and he was a leader of Orthodox Judaism in both Canada and US. And he said a prayer at the opening of the US Congress in 1874, which is quite rare for A, a Canadian, and B, a Jew. It was the first time that the Jew ever opened the Congress of the USA with a prayer. Here's a better picture of that opening of Congress to the right. I mention him because he is the one who started the historiography of the Sola family with his biography of his father, David Aaron de Sola. And in this biography, Abraham de Sola also remarks on the ancestors of David Aaron de Sola. So it's the first look at the genealogy as it was then known. First of all, he mentions Isaac de Sola, who was buried in the Noble Cemetery in London in 1735. He had one son, Abraham, a hazan in London of Bevis Marks, who is also buried there, but had no offspring. And Rabbi Abraham de Sola of Canada thinks that this Abraham was the only son of this Isaac de Sola. And we'll get back to that. He also mentions a Dr. Abraham de Sola, a doctor, great uncle of David, brother of the grandfather of David. And he says that this Dr. Benjamin de Sola inspired the love of the natural sciences in his grandson. And this grandfather is also mentioned. His name was also David Aaron de Sola. So what we have here is a repetition of that first name, of those first names, Aaron and David. It starts with an Aaron, then a David, then another Aaron, and then this David Aaron de Sola, hazan in London. David Aaron de Sola, the grandfather, had 4 sons, among others Aaron de Sola, and both David and the son Aaron were educated, distinguished in Jewish learning. They had a lot of piety, and they were intelligent, as was the mother of David, a virtuous woman employed in Jewish studies. This will all come back at some point during my talk. Next, we have Clarence Isaac de Sola. You see him on the left. He is every inch the gentleman in his riding suit, complete with horsewhip And the portrait reminds me somewhat of the portrait of Lord Weppersdale by John Silver Sargent, also an English um, um, important person in a rider costume, complete with whip, with the same pose. Clarence Isaac de Sola was a leisure man. He was agent of the Comptoir Belgo-Canadien, which was a steel producing company. Think wheels, locomotives, steelworks, the like. And he made a nice living of it, and this enabled him to research his family. He wrote in the Jewish Encyclopedia of 1906 the lemma about the Sola family, together with Joseph Jacobs, who will have been a cousin, I presume. And this lemma is the product of his extensive research. Apart from doing this, he was also a Zionist. He was, say, the father of Canadian Zionism. And in that lemma about the Sola family, you find a family tree. And here's the upper half of that family tree. Unfortunately, it has a lot of gaps. Like here is David de Sola, who is a grandson of Isaac. And who is in between? We don't know. And we don't know if Clarence Isaac de Sola knew who was in between. And the same, there's another gap here, Jacob de Sola. And the largest gap is between Gabriel de Sola and Carlos de Sola, who was a great grandson of the former Gabriel. It also mentions near the bottom, David de Sola married to Ana Alvarez. And both, according to the Jewish Encyclopedia, were early newcomers to Amsterdam. I know the Amsterdam archives like my back pocket, but I couldn't find Carlos de Sola, and I couldn't find David de Sola married to Ana Alvarez. So the gap might even be bigger. And we should have to consult the archives of Clarence Isaac de Sola, if they still exist somewhere, to know more about them. And at the bottom is Aaron de Sola, who fled from Lisbon in 1749. And he is the supposed great-grandfather of David Aaron de Sola, Gazan in London, whom we saw above. This is the second half. It's all small letters, and it takes a while to interpret it. So I did that for you. I made an abstract about the line that concerns us, and it starts with Carlos de Sola. He had grandsons. Isaac has on in London with his son Abraham, who, according to Abraham de Sola, rabbi of Canada, had no offspring. Next is David de Sola, Anita, Ana Alvarez, and there are some other children according to the tree that we just saw. David and Anna had 3 children. among them Aaron de Sola, who was born before 1700. And Aaron in turn had 6 children. And here we have this David de Sola. He is the supposed grandfather of David Aaron de Sola, Hazan in London. Then there are Isaac, Jacob, Rachel, Benjamin, Abraham, all supposedly born in Portugal, in Lisbon. The next person to research the family de Sola is Malcolm Stern. He more or less stuck to the facts given by the Jewish encyclopedia, as you can see here, but he left out the gaps. There are no grandsons, there are no great-grandsons here. It's a straight line. And of course, that's a problem because you see maybe 10 generations, and in 8 centuries, it should have been 24 generations, at least. Malcolm Stern is an interesting figure in himself, a rabbi, an American rabbi, a historian by training, and he created the structure and backbone of current genealogical societies in America as we know them today. He also wrote, and this is less well known, the 10 Commandments for genealogists, like take family lore serious, but check it against facts. Stick to the facts, always mention your sources, don't pretend that you have done the work when others have done it, source your work, etc., etc. He also produced first American Jewish families. In the 70s and 80s, this was the coffee table book in many Sephardic households in America. He produced hundreds of genealogies of every Jew that lived in the United States until 1840. As far as you could find them, of course. And among those were the family de Sola. And the family is represented here. Again, this sticks more or less to the research done by Clarence de Sola. His charts tend to be a bit unreadable because of those lines that go up and down. David is the son, the father of Aaron, but is nearly at the same level as his father, and this is confusing. So again, I produced an abstract. Malcolm Stern did not deviate much from what was in the Jewish encyclopedia. It's Carlos. He has an added son, Samuel, instead of others in the Jewish encyclopedia. Aaron de Sola, there is added that he is born in Portugal, and the same 6 children with one difference here. Isaac de Benjamin de Sola. And this is a bit troublesome because Isaac de Benjamin would mean that he was the son of Benjamin. This is the lemma about Aaron de Sola in the Jewish encyclopedia. He is central to the research of the Sola family, and is central to the problems regarding that research. It says here that Aaron de Sola was born before 1700 in Portugal. His father was tortured by the Inquisition. Aaron lived under an assumed name. 2 brothers died in an auto da fe. He escaped to England, 1749, went to Holland. He had 6 children, a son, Abraham, and a daughter, Rachel, married to Cohen, which gave rise to the Cohen, the Sola family. Julian Kemper is a researcher living at the end of the 20th century. He died a few years ago. David mentioned him. We inherited his research, and it's impressive what he managed to get together. His strong suit was the Inquisition. He went to Lisbon, read several files, took photocopies of them, and analyzed them. And he also has a family tree, which I find even more confusing than the ones by Malcolm Stern. So again, I made an abstract, which you see here. It's Carlos de Sola again. According to Julian Kemper, he had 2 great-grandsons or grandsons, Isaac and David, whom we already saw. This David, married to Anita Alvarez, had 4 children. 1 or 2 were sons killed by auto da fe. There's a son, Benjamin. This is an addition. And there's Aaron de Sola, born in Portugal, died in Holland. He married in Lisbon with Leo Preto. This is also new in comparison with the other 2 lines. And here Aaron has 4 children. 2 of them are the same, and 2 of them are different, and 4 of the children mentioned in the other lines go completely missing. I think this is a more accurate portrait of the family, and we'll, since I mentioned that this Aaron is central to the story, I will now research his life and tell a bit about the findings I made about him. First, a simple one. The marriage ban of Aaron de Sola, dated 24 January 1737, Amsterdam. He is 30 years old, so he is born in 1707. He is living on Vlooienburg, ouders dood, which means his parents are dead. He is assisted with his sister, Esther Sola, and he marries Leah Preto of Amsterdam, 18 years old, living in the Kerkstraat, Church Street, and she is assisted with her father, David Preto. And this David Preto was the shochet of the Portuguese Jewish community of Amsterdam. So this already gives some facts about his life that contradict the family trees that we saw. First, he was born in Amsterdam, 1707. The second, he still lives there when he marries. We not only have his marriage ban, we also have his ketubah. And his ketubah says that he is the son of Isaac. And there it doesn't stop. The ketubah says that there was a prenuptial agreement before notary Jan Barels in Amsterdam. And that prenuptial agreement is also known, and we can find the signature of Aaron de Sola here. and here, and it was also under the marriage ban here. Here it's the most clear. Uh, See how the A ends in a curl that underlines the signature. I devised a little something to help you um, through this talk. On the side here, there's the line of descent stretching from Isaac the Sola all the way to Abraham the Sola, the rabbi in Canada. And the person I'm talking about is indicated in black with white letters. So you know where you are, because I will be going up and down the family tree. So he was born in Amsterdam and he married in 1737. And in between, there are two moments that I found other material about him, other documents. This one is from the Esquimalt Sea of Amsterdam, the minute book of the Mahamad. And it says that Isaac de Sola here obliges himself to despagar his son Aaron de Solas. Aaron, born in 1707, was 14 years old at the time. I don't know exactly how to interpret this, but it looks like me that these three sons maybe were troublesome in their puberty, and that the Mahamad pressed their fathers to have them removed from the community. I don't know if that happened in reality. I don't think so, because in 1725, Aaron the Sola goes into diamonds. He has a contract together with Abraham Israel Ricardo, and these two youngsters, they are both of minor age. In 1725, Aaron was all of 18 years old. And this partnership is meant for the purpose of selling diamonds and other precious stones. Since they are minors, both are assisted with their fathers. Abraham with Rafael Israel Ricardo, and Aaron the Isaac de Sola with his father. And it's not easily readable, but it begins with an I. Then here is an S, A, Q, U, E, de Sola. And both Aaron and his father and their signature in a curl. And this curl seems to have become a sort of family tradition. We see it later, and it helps us establish relationships. So this is another indication that the father of Aaron is not David, it's Isaac. And we have now a signature of this Isaac, and we can compare that to signatures of under other documents, so we can establish that this is the same person. Aaron de Sola did not continue selling diamonds. For some reason, the business must have floundered. He followed his father-in-law into his business and into his function as shochet of the community. To the left, you see the contract that Aaron de Sola made up with Portuguese Jewish community is from the Book of Nominations, preserved in the archives of that community. And it's 4 pages long. And it deals with the working together of Aaron de Sola with his son David the Aaron de Sola. And you see here to the right Aaron de Sola. This is the person we are talking about. His son is David de Sola, and he is the grandfather of David de Sola Hazan in London. Both sign, and I published about this on the Sola Family website, the Solas Unite, where you can find it if you want to study it. Next, Aaron and Leah eventually die. Aaron in 1771 and Leah in 1787. And the children that are alive then divide the inheritance in 1788. To the left is established that David, Reina, Ribka, and Abraham of Aaron de Sola are the only children left of the late Leah Preto Henriques. And on the next page it says, and Aaron de Sola. This is the end of that division, and I will not go into the details of that division because it's 10 pages long and it mentions a lot of houses. But here are the signatures. David of Aaron de Sola again. This guy, Daniel da Costa Gomez de la Peña, is the representative of Reina de Sola and her husband, David de Leon, who live in The Hague. So they can't be present. And the next one is Ribka de Sola, and last is Abraham of Aaron de Sola. This is not the same guy as here. It's the brother of this David de Sola. So again, an abstract of what I just talked about. Now we have at the top not David, we have Isaac. He has a son, Aaron. And Aaron married in 1737 Leah Preto Henriques, as the full name is, and not in Lisbon in 1727. Aaron had 4 children, and in this, the family tree by Julian Kemper and of myself are not different, except, of course, the children are not born in Lisbon. They are born in Amsterdam. Then we go up the tree. I think that this Isaac de Sola has a father, Abraham de Sola, but that's for the moment speculative. We see here his signature, but it's in Hebrew, and I'm not totally sure. It could also be this one or that one. I don't read Hebrew. To the right is mostly the signature of the Chacham.
It's the signature on the left is
On the
Isaac.
left?
Yeah.
This one. Okay, thank you. So we can't compare this one with the signature under the deed that we saw about diamond trade. It's a very simple ketubah. I have been told there's no name of the father because they didn't know the father in Amsterdam. There's simple um, conditions for the marriage, uh, and there's no denying, which indicates that there has been no notary. It has all the signs of a remarriage. And I think they drew up this ketubah because Isaac the Solar came from elsewhere and he wasn't able to produce a ketubah where he lived at the time. Maybe there was no rabbi or no Jewish community. Isaac de Sola had uh, a difficult time in Amsterdam in financial regard. He had several jobs, all simultaneously, and all had to do with religious affairs or practices. Apart from that, he received peat to keep warm in winter. In England, poor Jews received coal. That's, I joked, one of the main difference between Amsterdam and London Sephardim. The one had peat and the other had coal. From the beginning, Isaac de Sola was attached to Etz Chaim. This is in 1700, 5460. And it is also the first time that he's mentioned in the archives of the Portuguese community in Amsterdam. He is a student. He receives 6 guilders per month. No, not here yet, but later on. But his name is here, Isaac de Sola. Yes, he receives 6 guilders. Um, um, that means that he should have been at the top of this list as the best earning student. The rest is all noted in the sequence in which they earn money. And he continues to be a student at Etz Chaim, but intermittently his name is gone from the list, and then he's added again. And this continues until he leaves Amsterdam. He was a preacher, and he published some or maybe all of his sermons in print, and maybe he earned some of those, earned some money with selling some of those. One of those sermons was held in Bayonne, the others in Amsterdam, and this gives me another reason to think that he was in before 1700 in Bayonne. He also earned money assisting a Christian baker and baking matzahs. This is from 1706, and it's from an Eskimo book of the Portuguese Jewish community. And I feel that I have to explain this one because it looks a bit unusual. Why didn't they bake their own matzahs? Well, they couldn't because you have to be a baker, you had to be a member of a guild. And the guilds in Amsterdam, for the most part, did not admit Jews. The Mahamat devised a solution for that, and the solution was that Jews were placed with Christian bakers and assisted or oversaw the baking of matzahs. Ishak Solas continues to assist in the house of Laurens Romein, and he gets paid 7 guilders for that. It was very difficult to find all the children of Isaac. I found some now and then, but I didn't have a clear picture of it. Uh, and then I had a lucky break. I ordered from the National Archives the last will of Abraham de Sola. This was in 2016, 2017, I don't know anymore. But back then you still had to pay for it, £3.50, I believe. And you got translation of the will from the Portuguese and English in a badly written script. And I was lucky to find someone who knew how to find the original last will of Abraham de Sola. It also has his seal and he signs, and the signature is very shaky. And it may be that already he was ill. It says here, assignado meo nome e affixado meo cello. Signed with my name and sealed with my seal. Unfortunately, the seal is very unclear, which is a pity, because it would have given us maybe a coat of arms. What is in that will? First of all, he leaves some money to the Portuguese Jewish community in London. And he leaves money to his wife, Abigail, in this case, an annuity of 400 British pounds, the rent of which was to be given to her each year. And the money was administered by the Portuguese Jewish community. And he mentions all his brothers and sisters. 4 brothers, 2 sisters, together with Abraham. That's 7 children of Isaac. There's his brother Moses de Sola Silveira, his brother Aaron de Sola, who we already met. He mentions the children of my brother Benjamin de Sola by equal shares. And this probably means that Benjamin was already dead by that time. It also mentions the son of my brother Jacob de Sola. So that means probably that Jacob already was gone. Or maybe something else happened. Then the son of my sister Esther, the son of my sister Sarah, the daughter of my said sister Esther, they all got small sums of money, 25 pounds. That is, these days it's small, then it was a big sum. The rest of the inheritance goes to his 2 sisters, Esther and Sarah. This all implicates that Abraham de Sola and Abigail de Sola had no children themselves. So we have 7 children for Isaac de Sola and his wife Rachel Silveira. I'll mention them all shortly. There's Jacob, and he has the longest story, and his is the more tragic life, and he probably was the black sheep of the family. He studied for a short time at Eschaim, and he started in 1707. The rule was that children could join at Eschaim at the age of about 13, and when they had done bar mitzvah. And Jacob, therefore, must have been born 1694. Of course, this is a guess, assuming that my reasoning is correct, but it seems probable because the other children align with that, with their birth dates. There's Esther, and her marriage ban, her first marriage ban, says that she was born in 1694. She died 1774 in Amsterdam, but she was born in Bayonne. And this is another indication that the family came from Bayonne. Yeah, she was also betrothed once to an Abraham de la Peña, and she had the tender age of 13. The marriage fell through. In the prenuptial that had been drawn up, it was stipulated that um, the, uh, the prenuptial could be broken up if either one of them chose to do so. And she did, or he did. She married again, was widowed, and married another time. Abraham, uh, he started his studies in Escaim in 1713, so I guess he was born 1700. So that could mean, because his father was first in Amsterdam in 1700, that he was born in Bayonne or born in Amsterdam. We don't know. But he died in London 1753. He became a hazan there in 1722. So the family had a talent with regard to singing. And then there was Sarah. She was also married twice. And then was this Sola Silvera, born 1702, according to his marriage band. Died in Amsterdam 1768. Jeweler. He was also married twice, so that's a lot of marriages. Then there's Benjamin, and then there's Aaron, the youngest, born in 1707. We already saw him. Back for a moment to Jacob, because I skipped some juicy stories here. He was put in Hiram in 1720 for visiting the lands of idolatria. He that means that he visited Spain or Portugal, for those were the lands of idolatria, the lands that no Sephardic Jew was ever supposed to visit again, but he did. Of course, this was not a harem as severe as the one of Spinoza. He paid the fine and was admitted into the community again. This was in 1720. That same year, about, he married Rachel Mendes Balborda, not in Amsterdam. Could find no marriage there. But I found the last will from 1722, when Jacob was already widowed. So his marriage was not very long-lived. And he is guardian of over his daughter, Ribka de Solas. This means that he was alone again and responsible for a young child. In August 1726, he loans money to Willem G. Jans, 520 guilders, to be paid off with he loans money from Willem G. Jans to be paid off with 60 guilders a year until 1735. On the same date, a little later, Willem G. Jans declares that the illegitimate child she has not been fathered by Jacob. So again, this means, I suppose, that he did have a child with her, that he did not receive a loan, but that the 60 guilders that he promised to pay off are to be considered like alimony. And then in 1727, perhaps because of the 520 guilders the 60 guilders that he couldn't pay. He walks off with 5 kilograms of gold of his employer, and he is never seen again. But his daughter remains in Amsterdam. Then we skip the generation of Aaron de Sola because we already talked about him, and we go to the grandfather of the Ghazan in London, David de Sola. David de Sola is also a shochet. We saw this signature already. Here is his marriage ban of 1768. This gives his age, which counting back amounts to more or less 1738, 1739. Below this is once again the signatures of David de Sola and Aaron de Sola, and both are very typical for them. So these must be the same persons as here. And David de Sola is the son of Aaron de Sola, who was married in 1737, because the marriage ban of Aaron de Sola had the same signature. Then we go on to the son of David and the father of David. He was also a shochet, and this is his contract with the Portuguese community, which is very much shorter than the one that David and Aaron de Sola signed, his father and grandfather. It simply says that he follows his father as a shochet, and that David de Sola stops being a shochet. The salary of shochet being then something like 850 guilders a year, which was reasonable pay, I think, if you think that the Chacham of that time received 1,500 guilders a year. To the left above is his marriage ban. To the left below are the signatures of Unwin's prenuptial agreement with his wife, Sarah of Isaac Namias Taras. And this time the sequence of signatures is turned around. Aaron is above, that's the son, and David the father. Then we get to the Ghazan of Bevis Marx, born in Amsterdam. He studied at Chaim. This is his first mention in the student lists of Chaim, and he gets 1 guilder and 15 cents a month for his upkeep. And this is the last, and he receives 15 guilders a month. And the year is 5578, and he is going to London that year, is appointed as Ghazan there. And this is the letter of recommendation by Chacham Daniel de Kohenda as a Veder of Amsterdam, 1818. It's very flowery language, partly gleaned from the Bible. The original is in Aramaic. Also, Jacob Marash tells me, who helped me greatly with this translation. It says that David is investigative, putative and drawing sharp conclusions in the Talmud. Holds a great seat in the Yeshiva at Chaim. Young and sharp scholar. The honorable son of Mr. Aaron de Sola, and left his mother's bosom, and really she was a woman of valor. And this goes on and on. But it also tells that Aaron, his father, is a slaughterer and checker, a shochet. So that fits. And that Aaron has a second wife, Simcha. David is decent and worthy of serving in holiness in front of God and to stand in front of his community. This does not say if he is fit to be a Chacham or Chazan or for a different function. It's flowery, but this is more or less what was expected of a letter of recommendation in those times. The family de Sola was also a member of Dotar, a society that doled out dowries to young girls and orphans each year. And here we see Aaron de Sola, the David de Sola, who was the first in this line. Up above, you can follow the line of descent of Aaron de Sola through his wife Sarah, through the father of the brother-in-law of the brother of Sarah, and then Selomo Namias, and then all the way back to nearly 1615, Jacob Israel Mendes. And David de Sola became a member of Dota by inheritance. David Aaron de David de Sola in London, because his father had died. To sum it up, the Jewish Encyclopedia of 1906 has this family tree with all the gaps in it, and with the biggest gap at the bottom is sorry, it's hidden behind here, but here's David de Sola with Hannah Alvarez, and his father, great-grandfather, or great-great-grandfather is Carlos de Sola. And this has been taken from the Jewish Encyclopedia, which says about Carlos de Sola that he was a great-grandson of Gabriel de Sola, and he went to Holland in the first half of the 17th century. He was the writer of a family chronicle and manuscript. And supposedly this is the source for the family tree that we see here that reaches all the way back to the 10th century. I assume that manuscript has been lost, but and I have question marks regarding this tree because of the many gaps, but also because at the bottom there's this great gap between this David de Sola, married to Hannah Alvarez, and his great-grandfather, Carlos de Sola. There are two generations missing here. And how did Clarence Isaac de Sola know that there was this family connection? And even more so because both Carlos de Sola and this David de Sola are untraceable in any archive. Then we have Malcolm Stern, the next to next person to examine the family, and here he has the children of Aaron escaped to London, David, Isaac, Jacob, and here it continues, Rachel, Benjamin, Abraham. So Isaac the Benjamin, Rachel, Benjamin, and yes. And then below, sorry, here you see a Benjamin de Sola and Abigail Moreno, Henriquez Moreno. And we see again Isaac, Rachel, Jacob, Benjamin. Rachel and Jacob have changed places. So the same 4 children are mentioned as children of Aaron here and Benjamin here. It must have been a mistake, and Julian Kemper says that Malcolm Stern provided better information in the second and third installment of his book, First Jewish American Families. And that begs the question, why is the third edition of that work not online? If this one has mistakes, there are bound to be more mistakes, which may have been corrected in the second and third. So this essentially gives to the public a flawed work. Julian Kemper. He also did a very strange thing. He has here David with Hannah Alves, whom I couldn't find, son Aaron, married Lisbon, Abigail Preto. And then he has a different family tree, Abraham de Sola, sons Benjamin, another David, Jacob, and then Aaron, who marries in Amsterdam, 1737, with Leah de David Preto. Apparently, he assumes that this Aaron is a different one than this Aaron. I find this inexplicable, and I imagine that it kept him awake at night trying to sort this out. But it's caused by his desire to preserve the family legend. Most notably that Aaron de Sola, son of David de Sola, escaped from Portugal on a British ship in 1749. If that is so, this Aaron de Sola lived in Portugal before 1749, so he could never have been the same as the one that married in Amsterdam in 1737. So my conclusion is that this lemma about Aaron de Sola does have only 1 or 2 truths in it. Aaron de Sola was not a son of David, but of Isaac. He was born 1707, not before 1700. He was in Portugal as a Marano, an assumed name, when his father was tortured by the Inquisition. No, Aaron was born in Amsterdam in 1707, is documented there in 1721, 1725, married in Amsterdam 1737. His children were born and documented there from the time of his marriage in 1738, 1741, 1743, 1746, 1747, 1748, 1750, 1751. 4 children were didn't survive very long, and they were buried in 1748, 1750, 1751, and 1755. Apart from that, he became a shochet in 1745. So before 1749, Aaron's uh, presence in Amsterdam is proved multiple times, and he cannot have been in Lisbon. His brothers and sisters all lived in Amsterdam and were not killed by the Inquisition. Uh, he did not escape on a British ship to London, nor did his family, because his family also was in Amsterdam, and they were all. Uh, his wife was born there, the daughter of the Sochet of the community. His children were born there, so there's no way that they could have been in Lisbon. Not all the branches of the Sola are descended from him. And lastly, his son Abraham was not born in 1737 or 1739, but 1726. But he did take an active part in administering the affairs of the Jewish educational and charitable institutions of Amsterdam, meaning that he was on the board of Etz Chaim. And Aaron's daughter, Rachel, did not marry a Kohen in Holland. She married with Moses the Aguilar. So what's up with this Kohen de Sola? Aaron of Isaac Isaac Cohen from Amsterdam, Jew, 21 years old, assisted with his father Isaac Cohen, married Rachel de Sola from Amsterdam, Jew, 18 years old, and she is assisted with her mother Abigail Enriquez Moreno. There's a prenup, and it is signed by Aaron of Isaac Cohen, the groom, by Isaac, the Jacob Cohen, his father. Rachel de Sola puts a mark here, and her mother, Abigail Enriquez Moreno, also puts a mark. And beauty of it, of this prenuptial agreement, that it also mentions the sum of money that Abraham de Sola Gezan in London, in his last will of 1751, assigned to his brother Benjamin de Sola, or the children of Benjamin de Sola, and to each 1/4. And that's 1/4 of 100 British pounds. So, and Rachel gets 25 British pounds in her ketubah. This means that she was one of the 4 children of Benjamin Cohen and Abigail Enriquez Moreno. So now we have also tied the family Cohen de Sola in with the rest of the family, and we also have tied in the children and grandchildren of Benjamin Cohen into the larger, the Sola family at the right place. Okay. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. That was awesome, and of course, another family legend bites the dust. Can I quickly ask a couple of questions? Who do you think wrote the Carlos family tree? Because it's very, very detailed. I mean, I don't know if you researched whether people in the earlier generations are actually related to each other, and perhaps somebody just did a join the dots, or what do you think is going on? I mean, obviously, Sephardic families do like to sort of aggrandize our history, and we've seen that several times. But I don't think I've ever seen anything quite as detailed as that family tree.
Um, as I said, I don't know. Julian Kemper supposes that this family tree was in the manuscript by Carlos de Sola. And Carlos de Sola was born in 1595. So he will have written a manuscript, let's say between 1525 and 1575.
Yeah,
And then we have this gap to the David de Sola whose existence I couldn't find.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, so because of that gap, I spared myself the trouble of having to check uh, all the different generations and there were a lot of gaps in those generations.
yeah.
Um, can it be saved? Maybe if we find a manuscript again. Um, can the connection between the Sola family and and the medieval family be restored? I I'm scratching my head at that. I don't
Yeah,
think so,
yeah.
and it needs a lot of work and a lot of luck, and we need to refine that manuscript of Carlos de Sola. Um, I have better hopes of finding the ancestor of Isaac de Sola, the preacher, in Bayonne, because there were at least two references and to Bayonne. And my friend Wes Schulman also found documents in Bayonne that mentions uh, an Abraham de Sola and an Isaac de Sola in Amsterdam in one document. It does not tell us the family relation because it was business.
Yeah.
But I put my hopes on Bayonne.
Okay. Just to throw in something I heard from Rabbi Shalom Morris, who is obviously the rabbi at Bevis Marks Synagogue, that when De Sola was Chazan in London, that was a period when there was there was no sort of senior rabbi, so he was more important than just a regular chazan.
Mhm.
And another very interesting point that's been raised by Sydney Korkos on YouTube. He points out that the De Sola family in London are connected to the Pinto family that came from Mogador, which we know. One of my friends is part of that family. Might that suggest, given that Isaac was writing in Hebrew, which is probably quite unusual, even for somebody who's been
Uh,
educated, might the De Solas have come from Morocco rather than from Portugal?
Interesting thought. We can ask Michael Waas or Jacob Marash to look at the signature of this Isaac de Sola
Yes.
and give us a verdict. I don't think so, because again, I think there are strong um, suggestions that it will have been Bayonne, and before Bayonne, then it will have been Trancoso in Portugal. There's my hope, and I do think that we will find documents either in Amsterdam or in Bayonne that will prove this.
Yeah, I mean, while you were talking, I was just quickly looking at De Solas on the Portuguese Inquisition, and as you say, there was some in Trancoso, I think one in Guarda, and one in a town I didn't know, somewhere near Lamego. So all the sort of the regular places,
And
but who
the
knows?
problem here is that we don't know the Portuguese names of um, this Abraham the Sola who lived in Bayonne, his
Yeah.
probable son,
Yes.
or likely son, Isaac, or the son of Isaac, Aaron, and all his brothers and sisters. Probably they did not have Portuguese names except the
Yeah.
first in this line.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Adrienne has a question.
Well, I'm going to confuse everything too, because I noticed in Julian's diagram, David was married to a Sarah Yeshurun de Oliveira.
Yes.
I have that person in my tree married to Rabbi Daniel or David Diazevedo of the Amsterdam congregation. Is that a common name that perhaps two people could be Sarah Yeshurun de Oliveira?
Yes, it could be.
It could be.
And especially because the Oliveira family was large.
Okay.
And they were all, it has to do with the naming patterns. And the first Oliveira ever leaving Iberia got the name Abraham, and his wife got the name Sarah. And the
Okay.
grandchildren got the name Sarah. And if you
Well,
have lots of generations, you have to have lots of Sarahs.
yeah, we know that from my Diazevedos. We have so many Daniels and Isaac, but she was married to the Rabbi Daniel of the synagogue in Amsterdam, the one I was talking about. So I was just saw it. I saw it and it was curious to me.
Yeah,
But anyway, thank you
I
though.
can look into that. That would be very interesting with regard to that letter of recommendation. It might have been informed by a closer family relation than I thought.
All these people are
Interesting,
so intermarried, you know,
Yeah.
it's thank you.
Thank you. We have a question from Bruce. Were prenuptial agreements typical of the Sephardic marriages of the 1600s to 1900 era? Were the terms of these agreements standardized, and who enforced its terms?
Yes, they were very common. There needed to be a bit of money in the family, otherwise you could not pay a notary. In Amsterdam, we are very lucky. Very, very, very lucky because we have marriage bans which tell us where the people came from. These marriage bans are not marriage deeds, they are intentions to marry. But it was obligated in Amsterdam for everyone to do that. After they had the permission from the municipality to marry, people went to their own church or synagogue to actually marry. And then a ketubah was made. But before the ketubah was made, a prenuptial was drawn up before a notary. And I always look at the ketubah, and then I ask someone who can read Hebrew if he can find the notary for me. And in about, let's say, 50 to 60% of the ketubot, there is a notary. So you have information from 3 sources, and sometimes they contradict each other. For example, if someone came from Italy in the marriage ban, his father may be dead, and in the ketubah he may be alive. That had to do with the fact that if you signed a marriage ban, you had to have consent of your father. That meant you had to write to Italy, and it cost money, and you had to wait for the answer. And maybe you didn't arrive. So sometimes they pretended that their father was dead, but in the ketubah they confessed.
Thank you. On YouTube, we have a couple of questions. Everyone actually on YouTube seems to be saying where they're coming from. So hello to everyone in the United States, Greece, Mexico, Jamaica, the Netherlands, South Africa, Portugal, UK, and anywhere else you might be. Barry asks, there's an Orthodox prayer book edited by a David de Sola Poole. Is he the same family?
Yes, he is. David de Sola Poole was the son of a Solomon Poole who married a daughter of Rabbi no, Gazan, David de Aaron de Sola of London. And this Solomon Poole became a member of a Sephardic community in the west of London and became Sephardic by joining a Sephardic community.
Thank you. And Genealogia Illustrada is asking whether the De Salas surname could be interpreted as De Sola.
No,
No. Okay, that's an easy answer.
yeah, before now.
Do we have any other questions online? I don't think so. Apologies that a couple of people had problems with the connection. I'm not sure what that is. I don't think that was at our end. Shall we? Shall we? As Sydney's saying, he's in Israel, and so yeah. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Ton. That was really interesting, and it is just fascinating how, as a community, we tend to rather sort of gild the lily, and all of us imagine that all of our ancestors were both noble and rich, but in some cases have these lineages, proven lineages, going back generations. And of course, it's interesting that that's then also being picked up by other communities, so Ashkenazim or whatever, when they reimagine the Western Sephardim. So yeah,
I have to say that I find the Sola family very fascinating, and they offer many problems to solve, and I like solving problems, and all of this without the nobility.
yeah,
It's an interesting family in and of itself, and by what the people did and how they lived, what they thought, and what they produced in terms of books, pamphlets, sermons. It's fascinating.
I think it's also worth repeating what you said about how the research used to be much more difficult. I mean, looking at Julian
Yes.
Kemper's vast archives, I remember as you starting off pre-internet, and you would have to send a letter in Spanish or Portuguese off to one of these archives, and they would then respond, and you would then have to go and get a euro check to pay something, and could be a process of months. So even perhaps if some of them made mistakes, they had a much more difficult task than us, I
Yes,
think.
they did.
So thank you, everybody. We shall be back in 2 weeks with Haida Wonka from the Jewish Cultural Quarter in the Netherlands. We shall be in touch, especially with our patrons, about all of the other things that we are doing over the next couple of years. But thank you, Tom, because that was very very forensic, and just proves the Jewish Encyclopedia is perhaps not always as right as we might wish it to be. So thank you. And